Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 p.m. here in Cairo. This is Shuruq Bakir, and I'll accompany you through the latest development on the national and international arenas, starting off with the headlines, followed with the details. President Sisi receives head of the African Bank for Exports and Imports, African Bank. Foreign Minister Abdulaziz meets UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on the sidelines of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly in New York. And Russia launched hundreds of drones and missiles at Ukraine overnight, wounding dozens and killing at least 4 people. Welcome back. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi stressed the importance of a close and accurate follow-up of the upcoming inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum in November 1st. Meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Tourism Minister Sherif Fathi, the President directed that all details should be attended to in order to make the event a remarkable world-class cultural success. The President said renovations of the entire area surrounding the should continue to ensure optimal landscape view. President Sisi asserted that private sector should play a role in tourism investment to increase tourist arrivals, improve infrastructure of sites, enhance variety of tourist destinations, and put a marketing plan for opening new markets and increasing revenues in the tourism sector. The head of the state added that sustainable development principles should be observed in managing ancient sites that are listed on UNESCO World Heritage in cooperation with the international organization. President Sisi received head of the African Bank for Exports and Imports, African Bank, Dr. Benedict Orama, whose mandate ends next month, and the upcoming president of the bank, Dr. George Olimbi, in Cairo on Sunday. The meeting was attended by Governor of Egypt's National Bank, Hassan Abdullah. Presidential spokesman, Ambassador Mohammed Shinawi, said that during the meeting, Sisi hailed the efforts by Orama in boosting and diversifying intra-African trade, as well as increasing Africa's share in international trade. He said that during the meeting, Orama reviewed the most significant achievements during his 10 years tenure, atop of which the launch of the African Continental Free Trade Area. For his part, Olimbi reviewed his vision and plans to develop the bank and boost its role in Africa. Sisi received Governor of the National Bank of Egypt, Hassan Abdullah, on Sunday. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Mohammed Shinawi said that during the meeting, Sisi was briefed on the latest developments related to implements a number of indicators, including inflation rate, decrease, and better foreign currency exchange rates. He was also briefed on efforts to increase the state's foreign currency reserves to address production needs. During the meeting, Sisi said that the state and the MBE governor are coordinating to keep foreign currency prices flexible and unified. On the occasion of the anniversary of the late leader Gamal Abdel Nasser, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi delegated the General Commander of the Armed Forces and Minister of Defense, General Abdel Majid Sakr, to lay a wreath on the grave of the late leader. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, Dr. Badr Abdelati, stressed that the need to continue intensifying efforts to reach a ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip and ensure unhindered access for aid. This came during Abdelati's meeting with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on the sideline of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly in New York. Abdelati reiterated Egypt's full support for the role of the United Nations in maintaining international international peace and security and addressing growing global challenges. For his part, Guterres praised Egypt's role as a key player in the multilateral system, as well as its firm commitment to the principles and purposes of the United Nations Charter, its tireless efforts to promote international peace and security, support development issues, and respect international law. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, Dr. Badr Abdelati, stressed the urgent need to enhance the credibility of the UN more than ever in light of the double standards national issues. This came during Foreign Minister Abdelati's meeting with the President of the 80th session of the UN General Assembly, Annalena Baerbock, in New York. Foreign Minister reviewed Egypt's vision for reforming the UN and the need to take into consideration the interests and national priorities of developing countries, stressing the necessity to reform the Security Council to correct an injustice in the African continent. The meeting also tackled a number of topics related to the work of the UN, including peacekeeping and peace-building operations, the multilateral economic issues, development support for developing countries, and the implementation of the 2030 Development Agenda and the African Agenda 2063. Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr Abdelati affirmed Egypt's keenness to strengthen its historic relations with Guinea, praising the deep-rooted relations between the two countries. This came during Foreign Minister's meeting with his Guinean counterpart, Murisanda Koyat. Foreign Minister expressed Egypt's aspiration to continue coordination and joint cooperation in political, economic, and development fields in a way that serves their common interests. Abdelati extended an invitation to his Guinean counterpart to participate in the 5th edition of Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development, scheduled to be held next October in Aswan. Moving to Gaza, where Israeli occupation strikes killed 91 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip. Victims arrived at El Shifa, Ma'medani, Auda, and Nasser hospitals. Meanwhile, Al Nasser neighborhood witnessed drone strikes on Sunday, while occupation forces prevented civil defense and emergency teams from reaching the area. Israeli occupation strikes also targeted Al Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza and areas in Khan Yunis to the south of the Strip. The entry of humanitarian and relief aid trucks into Gaza Strip resumed on Sunday within the framework of continuous efforts to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinians in the Strip. The Egyptian Red Crescent announced the launch of the 42nd aid convoy of Zaid al-Izza from Egypt to Gaza. The convoy included trucks carrying tons of foods, medical, and relief aid heading to Gaza. The European Union's top diplomat said on Sunday that the return of widespread sanctions against Iran's nuclear program must not be the end of diplomacy with the Islamic Republic. Kaja Kallas said in a statement that while the bloc will follow the United Nations in reimposing sanctions, a sustainable solution to the Iranian nuclear issue can only be achieved through negotiations. Details in the following report.
Iran on Sunday condemned as unjustifiable the reinstatement of United Nations sanctions over its nuclear program after the collapse of talks with Western powers and Israeli and U.S. strikes on its nuclear sites. The measures, which bar dealings linked to the Islamic Republic's nuclear and ballistic missile activities, took effect overnight after Western powers triggered the so-called snapback mechanism under the 2015 nuclear accord. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said in a statement that the reactivation of any world resolutions is legally baseless and unjustifiable. All countries must refrain from recognizing this illegal situation. It added that the Islamic Republic of Iran will firmly defend its national rights and interests, and any action aimed at undermining the rights and interests of its people will face a firm and appropriate response. The return of the sanctions ends a month of tense diplomacy aimed at reviving nuclear talks, derailed since June when Israeli and U.S. forces bombed Iranian nuclear facilities. Despite their reimposition, Western leaders stressed channels for dialogue remained open. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged Iran to accept direct talks held in good faith. He also called on UN member states to immediately implement sanctions to pressure Iran's leaders to do what is right for their nation and best for the safety of the world. The British, French, and German foreign ministers said in a joint statement that they would continue to seek a new diplomatic solution to ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon.
Russia launched hundreds of drones and missiles at Ukraine overnight, wounding dozens across the country and killing at least 4 people, including a 12-year-old girl in the capital alone. Ukrainian authorities said that besides the dead, more than 40 people were wounded in the Zaporizhzhia, Odessa, Sumy, Cherkasy, and Milorov regions on his part. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said following the strikes, which lasted for 12 hours, Moscow wants to continue fighting and killing and deserves only the harshest pressure from the world. He added, urging stronger measures against Russia from Kiev's allies, and the Kremlin benefits from continuing this war and terror as long as there are profits from energy sales. Moving to some economy and business, where Egypt's bourse closed higher today amid purchases by local and foreign corporations and investment funds against sell-offs by Arab and foreign investors and Arab corporations. The market capital of listed companies added 18 billion Egyptian pounds, reaching 2.5 trillion pounds at the end of the transactions that reached 3.9 billion pounds. The benchmark EGX 30 rose 1.39% above the 36,100 point mark. The equal weighted indices EGX 70 and EGX 100 climbed 0.77% and 0.8% respectively. Chairman of the Suez Canal Authority, Oussama Rabia, held talks with Vice President of China Shipbuilding Trading Company to review means to enhance joint cooperations to modernize the authority's shipyard and firms. The talks also covered means to produce advanced technological to localize the maritime industries and apply to most advanced technologies to raise the efficiency of the ports and to be able to receive modern ships with huge loads. The meeting was attended by representatives of the Chinese company in Egypt and Africa, as well as Suez Canal top officials.